Welcome to Outdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. Outdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to Outdrive. We've got another great story to share with you today about life and work in rural America. Today, we're joined by a very special guest who has combined farming and public service at the highest level. As a fifth-generation farmer, Chinn understands the nuances and challenges of today's farmer and rancher. As Missouri's Director of Agriculture and a member of Governor Parsons' cabinet, she is also in a position to affect change and improve the lives of everyone living in Missouri. Today, we'll learn more about the Department of Agriculture, hear about Missouri's largest agricultural expo, the Missouri State Fair, and find out what traditions she and her family have while attending the fair. You know, agriculture is Missouri's #1 industry, so getting it right is important. And Chris has been getting it right since her appointment in 2017. She is a tireless advocate, and I cannot think of a person more qualified to explain how rural America drives Missouri's economic engine. Welcome to Outdrive, Chris.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's our honor. It really is. And I know we have a lot to talk about this morning. You know, we want to talk about farming. We're in farm country and we're in the heart of the season. We want to talk about the Department of Agriculture because I know you've got some really neat initiatives going on. I want to talk about the State Fair that's coming up here in just a couple of weeks. But before we get into all that, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, if you don't mind?
I'm Chinn. I'm director at the Missouri Department of Agriculture. My husband, Kevin, and I are the fifth generation of farmers in our family. We farm with his mom and dad, and our son, Connor, recently has come back to the family farm full time. We raise hogs, cattle, corn, soybeans. We have hay on our farm. But the thing Kevin and I are the most proud of raising on the farm is our two children. Our daughter, Rochelle, actually married a farm boy from Saline County, and so she's also actively engaged in production agriculture today.
Well, that's awesome. Fifth generation. That's amazing. Tell us about growing up on a farm. What's it like?
So actually, I didn't get to grow up on the farm. My dad was a victim of the 1980s, and he was the oldest of 7 children. So my experience growing up on the farm was living in town through the week in Marshall, Missouri, actually for a while, and then Shelbina, Missouri, and going home to our family farm on the weekends to help be the free labor. We all remember the free labor. And so that was my experience. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. And then when Kevin and I met in high school, I got to spend a lot of time on his family farm. And it was just something I always loved. Kevin and I shared the same passion for agriculture. And so when I found out that they welcomed me on the family farm and they encouraged me to be a part of it, I knew he was the right one.
So what do you love about living on the family farm?
I like seeing the multiple generations working together. You know, Kevin working with his dad, Kevin working with our son, Connor. There's always something that needs to be done on the farm. So if you think there's nothing here for me to do, just look around because there's always something to be done on the farm. And at the end of the day, you can look back and see what you really accomplished. You might have that long laundry list that needs to be done again tomorrow, but you can look back and see that you actually accomplished something. And at the end of the day, know that your efforts are not just helping your family, but it's helping to feed a growing world population.
Which is critically important. So raising a family, that's a full-time job, right? Working a farm, that's a full-time job. But you also have this other full-time job as the director of the Missouri Department of Agriculture, which is a high-level position with a lot of responsibility. What attracted you to public service?
I never thought that I wanted to be involved in public service. So when I first got the phone call, I was like, I'm too busy. I can't do it. But what attracted me was knowing that by taking this position, I was going to be helping the youth of agriculture have a future for agriculture in their career choice. We saw firsthand with our kids, Connor and Rochelle, how hard it is to bring somebody back into a family farm operation. And I realized that this role would actually help raise awareness about the other opportunities that are out there. Today, we see so many of our kids taking jobs in the urban areas in the agriculture industry, and then they're saving up to be able to go back home to that family farm full time. That's probably not their chosen career path. They'd like to go straight back to the farm, but this is an opportunity to help bring that next generation back to the farm. With the average age of the farmer going up, having the ability for these kids to have that farm to go back home to is what's most important. And for me, I just felt like this was an opportunity to become the director of agriculture to help my fellow livestock farmers and row crop farmers and anybody who's involved in an agribusiness be able to continue to do what they love every day.
That's a great reason to want to do what you're doing. And you're doing a spectacular job representing the state of Missouri and women in agriculture. And tell us about the Department of Agriculture. What kind of things are you involved in? I know it's all ag, but lots of different things that you're touching. Talk a little bit about that.
When I first came to the Department of Agriculture, I thought I had a really good understanding of everything the department did, but I learned within my first 4 hours there, I didn't have a great understanding. We touch everybody's lives in a different way, whether you're involved in agriculture or you're not. So our weights and measures division, we are in charge of the inspection of all of the fuel pumps in the state. A lot of people wouldn't think that that fits into the Department of Agriculture. We also inspect all of the large and small scales in the state of Missouri. So anything from a grain elevator or a livestock market scale to the grocery store scales that you buy your produce and your meat over. We also are in charge of animal health division, so animal movements throughout the state, protecting our livestock herd from any foreign animal diseases or disease outbreaks that might be around. We want to keep that herd healthy. We also are in charge of the state meat inspection program, as well as the Animal Care Facilities Act. When you move over to the other side of our building, you've got our wine and grape board, which is the fun portion of the Department of Agriculture. Everybody loves to see the wine and grape guys come to a meeting. They're always hoping there's some sampling going on there. Our ag business development team, they play a huge role in trying to connect farmers to consumers and consumers to agriculture through our Missouri Grown program. And so that team works really hard to try and help promote our small businesses who are trying to add value to agriculture. We also have a domestic marketing team that tries to help our businesses in Missouri who want to export their products have that opportunity to find those right markets to export into. Our plant industries division, we are all about the plant health in the state of Missouri and making sure that we are registering all the pesticides that are used in the state of Missouri. We also are in charge of the feed and seed division. So we test feed throughout the state. We want to make sure that the seed is authentic, and we test seed as well. So huge role there in making sure that the livestock feed in our state is safe, as well as pet food. Missouri is one of the largest pet food manufacturing states in the country. And a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that before I became director of agriculture. So we inspect all of the grain elevators in the state of Missouri. One, to make sure that they're going to be able to pay for the corn or the beans that they purchase from the farmer. But we also grade all of that grain to make sure that it's quality that it needs to be if someone's trying to export that grain to a foreign market. So that team does a lot to facilitate trade and commerce in the state of Missouri. And that's just a very high level view of everything that we do at the Department of Agriculture. We also are in charge of the Missouri State Fair. That's a part of the department, as well as the Missouri Ag and Small Business Development Authority. That is housed within the department as well, and the State Milk Board.
I'm guessing that there's a lot of people out there that are surprised to hear everything that you're involved in. How many employees statewide are there in the Department of Ag?
So we have approximately 350 employees at the Department of Agriculture. That varies depending on what season it is, because when we are in harvest season, we will hire more part-time employees. Right now in the Boot Hill area, we're looking to add peanut inspectors because we have peanuts being grown in the Boot Hill, and we inspect those peanuts and grade them. And so right now we're looking for some part-time help there. And then, as everyone knows, in the Sedalia community during the state fair, we hire a lot of part-time help there to help us get that fair going. So that team goes from a team of 23 to about 900 when the fair comes to town.
Wow. So if someone were interested in going to work for the Department of Agriculture, how would they go about doing that?
Our website posts every job opening that we have at agriculture.mo.gov. And so I think that's one of the best places for people to look to see what job openings that we have. And that changes from day to day as we have retirements. When I came to the Department of Agriculture, I was welcomed with open arms by a team of people who had a lot of experience at the department. And unfortunately, I can't convince them to spend their retirement with me at the Department of Agriculture. So many of our leaders are starting to look on to the next chapter of their lives, and they're going to be retiring. And so there is opportunity at the Department of Agriculture. We're going to see some ability for our team members to hopefully move up if they're interested, or to bring new team members on too.
Well, sounds like a great opportunity with a variety of different kinds of roles, right?
And, one of the neat things about the Department of Agriculture is you might have started your career in the animal health divisions, but you may end up in the grain division or in the plant industries division. So we see a lot of that where people are like, hey, I really like my job here, but this area interests me a little bit more. So I'd like to go look and see what opportunities are there. So we get to see a lot of our team members move, and it gives them a better overall understanding of what the Department of Agriculture does when they do that.
So I've always heard that working in state government is a great career. Tell us a little bit about the benefits of being a state employee.
Well, one of the biggest benefits for me was I didn't realize that I was missing 350 family members before I came to the Department of Agriculture, but that's what I found. We truly are a family at the Department of Agriculture. We take care of each other. It's kind of like the agriculture community in the state of Missouri. Everybody tries to look out for their neighbor and help them out whenever they can. That's the atmosphere that we have at the department. That's a benefit that there's really no dollar value that you can place on that, but we do have a lot of paid days off at the state government. There's also really great insurance and a great retirement plan. And then there's a lot of discounts that you can get, whether it's through a cell phone provider or another company, vacations. There's so many different things that are out there for you as a state employee.
Well, there you go, folks. If you're looking for a great career working for our state's largest industry, I think there's a position for you. So I read recently where the department awarded Show Me Entrepreneurial grants throughout the state, which I thought was very cool. And I looked at the list of people who had received that. How did that program get started, and what are you trying to do with it?
So this program actually started back before 2020. We were doing a food and beverage task force study led by Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe. And from this study, we found that there's a lot of opportunity to add value to Missouri agriculture products. And so there was $3 million that got put into the Department of Agriculture's budget. And the whole purpose was to design a grant program that would help our small businesses who are entrepreneurs who just needed that little extra boost. It's sometimes hard to find traditional lending when you're doing an out-of-the-box idea. And so we wanted to be able to help those businesses. We were hoping there would be interest in it. We weren't real sure because this was something that we kind of dreamed up overnight. And we had $20 million of requests come in for those grant dollars, which really shocked us. Some really high-quality applicants. We wish we could have funded every single one of them, but of course we couldn't. And so it was really a difficult decision. Our Missouri Ag and Small Business Development Authority Board of Directors are the ones who were tasked with grading those grants. And they all commented on this was the toughest decision they've had to do in a very long time. But we were very proud of the end result. We were able to touch a lot of broad sections of agriculture. So some wineries, we got to hit some meat processors, some forest products, and as well as a corn farmer on his who has a distillery. So really a wide variety of recipients. And we're hoping that we're going to be able to see the fruits of those grants in the coming years.
So is this a program that's going to be ongoing from here then?
Well, we don't know. It was one-time funding that was put into our budget, as we did receive the $3 million last year, and it is in the budget again this year. So what we ended up doing as a board, they funded more of the grants than just that $3 million. Some of those dollars were also used to design a website. One of the biggest things that we hear from our small business owners in the state of Missouri who are making jams and jellies and barbecue sauces is they don't know what the health codes are and the regulations are in every county in the state. There's no one-stop shop where they can go to figure out what a county reg is, what a city regulation is, or what the state regulations are. So we are working to design an interactive website that will help these small business owners know who they need to contact to be able to get that business license to go into these new areas to try and sell their products.
So really becoming a resource for people that have information. I think that's a great role for the Department of Agriculture to fill.
Yeah, we're really excited about that opportunity. We're also hoping that we can help get some training. One of the things we hear from people all the time is we don't know how to fill out a grant, and so it's intimidating, so we didn't apply. So we're going to work with our partners at the University of Missouri Extension and see if we can develop some type of a program to maybe address that need. We're also looking at other ideas that might help our small businesses based on the feedback that our MASBTA team and our Ag Business Development team hears from the boots on the ground as to what some of their challenges and roadblocks have been.
Well, you mentioned some of the great products that are grown and sold throughout the state of Missouri and really throughout the United States. And I know a lot of that is marketed through the Missouri Grown program. Talk a little bit about how that came to be and maybe how somebody could get involved with that if they were interested or find out more about it.
The Grown program is our state's branded program for agriculture products. It used to be known as Agri-Missouri. It's almost 4 years old. It was developed in 1985, so under Director of Agriculture Charlie Cruz at the time, this program came to be born. We have members all across the state. Currently, we have almost 650 members of the Missouri Grown brand, and you'll find people from all across agriculture, whether they're doing pumpkin patches or Christmas tree farms or you pick locations, to meat sticks and sauces and rubs and jams and jellies and soaps and lotions. I mean, the vast array of differences of what you can find in our market at the Missouri State Fair will show you the diversity that we have in Missouri agriculture and in the Missouri Grown program. The membership to be a part of it is $50 a year. And with that $50, you get listed on the website. You get to use that Missouri Grown label that people are coming accustomed to looking to because they know that product came from Missouri. You get access to a Facebook member group so that you can interact with other businesses in the program and try and learn from each other. And you also have the opportunity to participate in the Missouri Grown Market that's inside the Agriculture Building every year at the State Fair. We hear people come year after year to get certain products that they know they can pick up there and not have to order from a website. And then you also have the opportunity to be involved in our holiday gift box program that we started during COVID because we wanted to figure out what we could do to help those Missouri Grown members since we weren't going to have the fair in the traditional manner that we normally did and we weren't going to be able to have that market. So we started these gift boxes and they've been a huge hit. The first year we were just hoping we could sell around 200 to 250 and we sold way over 500 of these boxes. And so last year I think we sold around 700 to 750 of the boxes. So it's become a huge opportunity for people to share the Missouri Grown products with people out of state. And so it's been fun for our team to track which states these products are shipped to because it's greater exposure for our Missouri farmers.
Well, I think the Missouri Grown program is excellent. We've been thrilled to be able to work with you and that program on helping tell that story because it's a phenomenal story. And, I think looking back, there were so many negatives about the pandemic, but I think a positive that really came out of there, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, is connecting the consumers with the producers in a way that they maybe it was there before, but they didn't really know it was there. And now it's there bigger than ever. I just really think that's a phenomenal byproduct and a positive byproduct of the pandemic. We love the gift boxes here at Callis, and our clients have grown to love them as well. I think they look forward to getting them as a little Christmas thank you every year. So we'll keep our eye on the radar screen for that. You mentioned the fair, and of course, that's coming up just in a few days. And in fact, I believe that we're going to be airing this episode right before it kicks off in a couple of weeks. And you mentioned the Missouri Grown Market in the Agricultural Building on the south side of the fairgrounds. So everybody that's listening needs to definitely get that on their fair plan if they don't have it already. So the department oversees the Missouri State Fair. Talk a little bit about that relationship and working with the good folks at the state fair.
Sure. We are a part of the Missouri State Fair. It's housed within the Department of Agriculture, but the Missouri State Fair is also run by a 8-member commission, as well as the Director of Agriculture sits on that commission as well. So the team over at the State Fair, they not only answer to us in state government, they also answer to their commission. But we have a really great commission right now, and we work very well together with the team at the State Fair to make sure that we are showcasing Missouri agriculture in the best way possible. We like to say that the Missouri State Fair is the agriculture community's largest family reunion, because you can just see people, they haven't seen each other for a year maybe, but they pick right up where they left off last year at the fair. They're always talking about what they've been doing in that last year. And it's just so fun to watch these families interact with each other. I see friendships that have been formed for multiple generations and families, and they all try to camp together next to each other in the camping grounds. And so it's just really a neat opportunity to walk through those livestock barns and to see these kids who have worked for a year to raise their beef cattle project, or they've worked for 6 months on their hogs, and get to see them and the pride in the work that they have done. Some of them get to win, and some of them have to learn that hard lesson of losing. But walking through those barns and seeing the encouragement that comes from other families from all across the state, their families have showed livestock together for 3 generations or 4 generations. I think that's the best part of the state fair for me. And that team at the state fair, they live and breathe the state fair. They wear that brand 365 days a year. They're so proud of that fairgrounds and the work that happens there. And we're just really lucky to have them as part of our team at the Department of Agriculture.
Well, they really are a great team. And I know together collectively, you make a great team. You mentioned the barns, and I'm glad you did, because I think that's sort of one of it's not really a best kept secret, but I think a lot of people don't realize that they can walk right down through the barns, visit with the kids and the families that are in there, look at the livestock that's being shown during the fair. And, it's interesting. I had Elsie Kiger on our podcast just recently. She's the current Missouri State Fair Queen. And she was talking about how she had spent so much time on the fairgrounds last year, and she had found so many new things that she didn't ever realize was there. And I thought, you know what? That's a great insight from her.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I was kind of the same way the first year I was director of ag. We have grown up going to the Missouri State Fair, but we have our favorite areas that we go every single year. And so by the time you spend one day there hitting all your favorite stops, you're worn out, and you don't always go and explore those new opportunities like the fine arts building or to find the butter cow. So many people from the city don't know about the butter cow. And so you're right. People don't know that they can walk through those livestock barns. And I have sat there before and watched somebody while I'm taking a phone call or I'm in another conversation, and you can just see them peeking inside the door, and they really want to go in there, but they don't know if they're allowed to go in there. And so it's always neat to go in and say, you can walk through there. You can go talk to the exhibitors. We encourage that. And I'll never forget, one lady told me, she goes, they just look like they're so busy. I don't want to interrupt them. And I said, if they're getting ready to show, they'll let you know they can't talk. But I said, otherwise, they love to talk about their project. They would love to tell you what they've done all year to take care of this animal. And so you're right. People don't understand that. And I think it is one of our best kept secrets, because not only do you have the opportunity to learn about agriculture by walking through one of those barns, but you get to see rural town community spirit inside those barns, where neighbors are helping each other and taking care of each other. You might see somebody who's stalled on the other side of the barn bring something over to help a family 3 or 4 rows away from them because they left something at home. That's the agriculture community and the spirit of agriculture captured in those barns.
It's pretty special. So this year's theme is where traditions grow. What are some of your and your family's traditions for the fair?
Well, we always came to the state fair for a few things. One, our kids always had exhibits in the 4-H building. And so that was the very first stop, because we had to go see their exhibit on display, because they had won at the county fair They were the project that got chose to come be displayed at the state fair. So that was always our first stop when we got to the fairgrounds. We always had to eat one meal at the pork chop place, which years ago, that was a big tent that we all sat under, but they had the best applesauce around and the best pork chops around. And then we also had to go to the beef house as well. The butter cow was always on our list, as well as going through the livestock barns. Most people would think when you come with your young children, the carnival has to be the first hit. But by the time we got through everything we wanted to see in the commercial building and the agriculture building, normally our kids were so tired, they didn't even want to think about a carnival ride.
Well, it's been fun as part of working with the State Fair in their marketing and advertising program. We got the opportunity to review all the list of traditions that people had submitted as part of the social media program that the fair ran to collect this information. And so we were able to pick and choose and incorporate some of those things into the advertising. And it was phenomenal, from the most abstract, bizarre tradition that some have to, eating at a particular time at a particular place and eating a particular thing, to something very common like the butter cow or going to the opening day parade. And so it was really neat to see all those traditions. And of course, for those of us who have been going to the fair for years, we all have them, right? So skipping back maybe to your overall job, not just the fair, but you've surely had the opportunity to do some really cool things since you became the director of Missouri Agriculture. Give us a couple of examples of things that you've got to do that you were like, wow, that was neat.
You're right. There's been a lot of neat moments as director of agriculture, but one of my favorites every year is getting to be with the FFA students and the 4-H students. This opportunity allows me the ability to interact with these kids more than I would as just being a family farmer back home in Clarence, Missouri. And so every time that I get to interact with the youth of FFA and 4-H, it just really reminds me why I'm doing what I'm doing in public service. It's so that next generation has the ability to be involved in agriculture. So that's probably my favorite thing that I get to do as director of agriculture. I've also got to accompany the governor on some trade missions to try and promote Missouri agriculture and encourage companies to come over who are agriculture companies to try and help our Missouri farmers and ranchers. And so that's always been an honor to me to be able to travel alongside the governor, who does a remarkable job of selling the state of Missouri, but helping other farmers in other countries from learning from the technology that we have here in Missouri is also one of those unintended consequences of the trade missions, because you just don't realize how many neat things that we do in Missouri agriculture that when you get to another country, they're like, really, you guys do that? We haven't heard of that. And so there's always that common ground that you can find, because we all want to help our farmers no matter where we're at in agriculture.
Absolutely. And you're right. We're so fortunate in the state of Missouri to have a governor who recognizes the importance of agriculture and supports it in the way that he does and has. I've seen you speak at a number of venues over the years, and you're an excellent speaker, as well as a great representative for women in agriculture. How do you perceive this role? Because it's kind of people look up to you.
This role every day is an honor to wake up and get to be the director of agriculture. At first, I didn't think I wanted this job because I thought I was too busy. But I realized busy people are the ones who get things done in the world, especially when it comes to agriculture. And so in this role as a woman, I think a lot of people doubted my agriculture knowledge when I first came to the Department of Agriculture. A lot of people wondered what a woman knew about agriculture. And so it would have been very easy for me to get frustrated, but I didn't let that stop me, because it was a valid question. They wondered, does she really know, or is she just that token woman? And so it gave me the opportunity to talk about my experience helping my husband in the farrowing barns when we have sows giving birth to pigs, or talk about weaning day for cattle, which can be very stressful on the farm when you're sorting cattle with your wife and your husband and your kids. It was stressful for Kevin. It was stressful for me. It was stressful for the kids. And so being able to connect with people in agriculture about those frustrations, to be able to say that I've lived through the droughts before and that we always know the rain is going to come. We just don't know when that rain is going to come. And, it's just been a great opportunity for me to encourage other people to don't give up. we're always going to have hard days, but farmers and ranchers are the eternal optimist. We always think it's going to rain tomorrow. And when it doesn't, we wake up the next morning and say, today's going to be that day. And so being in this role, it allows me to hear the struggles of other farmers in all areas of the state, but also to kind of remind them, you're not in this alone. We're all in it together. And we want to be a resource here at the Department of Agriculture to help you. We're here to help.
Well, you've been a great representative for the state of Missouri. What would you say to a young lady who is considering a career in agriculture?
Don't let your gender stop you. I was very lucky when I married into Kevin's family. It didn't matter that I was a girl. There was a job that needed to be done and you were going to do it. So it might have taken me a little bit longer to get that job done than it would my husband, but they treated me as an equal. My in-laws did, and I've been blessed by that. And I know not everybody has that open arm invitation into a family farm, but I would encourage anybody to just dig in. Don't let the small stuff bother you. Get that job done, because at the end of the day, what really matters is that the job got accomplished, not really it was accomplished by a woman. It's just that the job and the work got done. So don't let your gender stop you, and don't expect to succeed on your first time. You're going to make mistakes, and life's best lessons are learned in those mistakes. And I think right now in society, people don't want to fail, and they see that is an embarrassment when you fail. But I've failed before and I've messed up. And so I would tell any young woman or young man in agriculture, don't give up when you fail. Learn from that lesson. Try not to make that mistake a second time, but let that experience make you stronger and better.
Great advice. So the focus of our podcast is really rural America. And of course, as a marketing agency, we incorporate marketing trends and highlights and insight and all that. But when I say the words rural America, what kinds of thoughts or images come to your mind?
For me, it's my neighbors in my rural community, the people who are always there for us in good times and in bad times. And I think that's what you find in rural America, is that community spirit where we're here to help you, where if you're falling on bad times, your neighbors are going to show up and help you. But if you're a stranger to that community, they're also going to welcome you with open arms as well and try and help you. And it's just a great place to live. It's a great place to raise your children. And I count my blessings every day when I get to be home on the family farm and to wake up in that rural community, to see those familiar faces. It's just like it's family. Agriculture is family, and our rural communities is just an extension of the agriculture family in my mind.
It's a pretty great way of life, isn't it?
It is. And, I'm very lucky because I get to, in my role as director of agriculture, see lots of rural communities throughout the state. And what I find is that my little community is not unique to Missouri. It's replicated all over this state. And no matter what community I go to, I always feel like I'm welcome in the agriculture world and in those rural communities. The urban communities do a great job of always making me feel welcome too. I don't mean that they don't, but those rural communities, they just welcome you in, just like, you've grown up there your entire life. The Pettis County area has been great about that. The Saline County area, I can go down to Dunkling County in the Boot Hill area and get that same warm welcome reception. It doesn't matter which part of the state I'm in.
I agree with that. Chris, I've really enjoyed having you on our podcast today. What else would you like to share with our Outdrive audience that you think they might find interesting or maybe inspiring?
I would just encourage, if you've never been to the state fair or you haven't been there in a long time, go back to the state fair since state fair season is coming up. I would also encourage people to get out and talk to a farmer or a rancher. If you have not visited with one lately, this drought has actually put a lot of stress on our farming community, not only in the livestock industry, but in the row crop side as well. Get out and talk to those farmers, because sometimes all they need to know is that somebody cares about them. It's a very stressful time for the agriculture community right now. We like to joke that if you want to rain, hold the Missouri State Fair, because it always brings rain to the state of Missouri. In seriousness, I would encourage people to reach out to their farming community, check on them, make sure they're doing okay. Just, find out what challenges they have, because right now when you drive down the highway and you look at some of the crops, they look okay. But what you don't know is the stress that those crops have been under, and that there may not actually be any corn on the stalks. And we don't know what's going to happen to our bean crop yet. So just lots of prayers for our farming community, because this is a tough year in agriculture. We've seen more cows go to market this year than we've ever seen in recent history. And it's a little bit unnerving for our cattlemen and women in the state of Missouri right now.
Always a great idea to thank a farmer for what they do. Chris, thanks for being with us.
I appreciate the time with you today.
Same here. Folks, thanks for listening to Outdrive. I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with Chris Chinn, the Director of Agriculture for the state of Missouri. Come back again next week and I'll take you down the roads of rural America where it's heaven on earth.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on Outdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to ecallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, Outthink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.